Libra, if in this moment you are listening to these words, allow yourself to pause for just a second. You do not need to do anything. Just breathe. One deep breath and one slow breath out. There are moments in life that are not loud, not dramatic, yet they carry a quiet pull, as if something unseen gently touches your shoulder and whispers, "Pay attention, listen closely, because this moment is not random." You did not come across this message by accident, not because of an algorithm, not out of curiosity, and not because you had time to spare. Some encounters do not need an invitation. They were arranged long ago, on a deeper level of life, where time does not move the way we are used to. In that space, everything arrives exactly when it should, whether we recognize it or not. Imagine a door, not large, not dramatic, just a narrow line of light, thin enough to slip into a room that has been quiet for far too long. That door has just opened, and when it opens, there is no noise, only a feeling that is strangely familiar, like the scent of an old house from childhood, like a voice that once lulled you to sleep in your earliest years, like the presence of someone who is no longer beside you, yet has never truly left. The energy reaching you now carries the shape of a father. It may be your biological father. It may be a grandfather, an uncle, or someone who once stood in that role, protecting you, guiding you, teaching you how to stand steady in the world. That person passed through another doorway of life. But love did not go anywhere. It did not disappear. It simply changed the way it shows up, quieter, more subtle, and far deeper than before. Libra, there are nights when you feel empty without knowing why, moments when you hesitate as if waiting for an invisible nod of approval, times when you narrowly avoid loss and later wonder what saved you. Sometimes you call it luck, sometimes intuition, and sometimes, in the silence, you sense a hand holding you up, even though you cannot see it. This message is not here just to move your emotions. It comes because something in your life is standing at a crossroads, not loudly, but unmistakably. It touches how you see your own worth, the path you choose to build stability, safety, and lasting prosperity. Some guidance is never written in words. It is planted into daily life through small signs, repeating, patient, as if someone is gently knocking, again and again, waiting for you to open the door. And perhaps the most important thing right now is not that you understand everything immediately, but that you allow yourself to believe you are not alone. That there is a love that has moved beyond loss, beyond time, beyond everything left unsaid. A love that does not demand, does not judge, only stands quietly, hoping you live a life that is steadier, lighter, and more fulfilled. If your heart feels softer as you hear this, trust that it is not imagination. It is the memory of your soul waking up. And when that memory returns, it does not bring sadness. It brings light. A light strong enough for you to notice the signs around you. Strong enough to remind you that some things in life are not coincidence, but gentle signals, telling you that you are being guided step by step in a way that is meant only for you. And when that light reaches you, some things begin to feel clearer, even without explanation. You may not be able to name the feeling, yet inside, a quiet sense of reassurance rises, as if someone has just stepped behind you, said nothing, only gently placed a hand on your back and let you know, keep going. This path is not wrong. There are people who leave this world, but never truly leave our lives. They no longer sit at the table, no longer call our name in familiar rooms, yet their energy remains, quietly present in very human moments. In the moment you walk away from a decision that could have made everything fall apart. In the pause before choosing something tempting, only to realize later that you avoided a serious mistake. In opportunities that arrive later than expected, yet fit so perfectly, as if they were arranged long ago. That energy carries the shape of a father, not necessarily the man who gave you life, but the one who once shielded you when you were vulnerable, who taught you how to stand tall in the world, who sacrificed in silence so you could go farther than he ever did. Some fathers were never good with words, yet their love showed itself through quiet protection, through carrying the heavier weight, through always thinking one step ahead so their child would not stumble. From the other side of life, that love is no longer limited by exhaustion, by responsibility, or by the helplessness of being human. It becomes purer, more forgiving, and far more powerful. It does not blame you for choices that were imperfect. It does not grieve over the distance that once existed. It focuses on only one thing, keeping you safe and opening paths that may have once been hidden from view. You may have wondered why money in your life rises and falls, why there were moments when it felt like you were about to lose everything, yet somehow managed to hold on to what mattered most. You may remember standing at dangerous crossroads, then turning back for reasons so small, so ordinary, that only later did you realize you had been spared. None of that was random. Those were gentle adjustments, invisible hands nudging you just slightly off course, enough to keep you from a deeper fall. And there were doors that once felt permanently closed that one day opened in ways you never expected. A casual offer, an unplanned meeting, an opportunity arriving just when hope was nearly gone. Not a loud miracle, but a very delicate form of compensation. As if someone were saying, "You have carried enough. Now it is your turn to be supported." If your memories still hold unfinished moments with that father energy, misunderstandings, silences, words that were never spoken, know this. In a place where competition no longer exists, where pride no longer weighs heavy, all of that has been released. No blame, no regret. Only a deep understanding remains, and a simple yet powerful wish that you live a life more stable, more abundant, and more at peace. Blessings, then, do not arrive as distant promises. They arrive in very real ways, through financial opportunities that are preserved, through decisions made at the right moment, through a stability that slowly forms after years of uncertainty, as if the pieces of your life are being rearranged, gently but firmly, so you can stand more solidly on your own feet, while always knowing that no matter how far you go, there is a quiet source of love watching over you, never looking away. And within that quiet watchfulness, very small signs begin to appear, so subtle that without stillness, they would be easy to miss. Not loud, not dramatic, just brief moments in everyday life, yet repeating often enough to make you pause, if only for a single heartbeat. It might be the moment you glance at the clock, and the hour and minute land on the same number. It might be a number printed on a receipt, on a license plate passing by, or in a date you never paid attention to before. At first, you tell yourself it is just coincidence, but then it happens again and again, softly, patiently, as if someone is waiting for you to notice. That number carries its own rhythm. It does not rush you. It does not command you. It simply invites. Like a gentle tap on the door of awareness, reminding you that invisible threads are connecting the world you live in to a deeper layer of guidance. In that space, things do not move by logic alone. They move by resonance, by timing, by the quiet precision of things arriving neither too early nor too late. Each time that number appears, you may feel a very brief moment of stillness, as if the space around you slows down just a little. And within that slower beat, a question arises, unspoken, almost whispered. Am I standing before an important choice? Is there something here that deserves a closer look? Is this a moment to pause instead of rushing forward out of old habit? The father energy remains present, never forceful, never choosing for you. It simply places a sign along your path, clear enough to be seen, gentle enough to leave you free. That is how mature love works, not through control, not through possession, but through trust. Trust that you are wise enough to recognize the sign. Trust that you are strong enough to choose well when the moment arrives. Some decisions, if made too early, carry risk. Some opportunities, if taken too quickly, become burdens. And some moments, if missed, take a very long time to return. These repeating signs are not meant to frighten you. They are meant to help you adjust your pace, to remind you that sometimes wisdom lives in pausing for 1 second before saying yes, or taking one deep breath before saying no. You do not need to change your entire life because of a single number, but you can begin by listening to how you feel when it appears. Notice where you are, what you are thinking, what stands before you. Because in those very human moments, guidance becomes clearer than any advice ever could. And as you learn to recognize these small signals, you will realize you are no longer walking in uncertainty. You are being guided, little by little, by a rhythm that feels familiar, gentle, and deeply trustworthy, like the breath of life itself, quietly holding you from within. And as that rhythm slowly becomes familiar, you begin to realize that another layer of energy has been quietly surrounding you all along, steadier, calmer, like an overhang that shields you from the rain, something you only truly notice after the strongest winds have already passed. There are moments when you look back and suddenly see that you safely crossed paths you once believed were impossible. Not because you became more reckless, not because life suddenly grew easier, but because a higher wisdom was silently placing pauses in the right places, gentle turns at just the right moment, so you would not be pushed into situations you were not yet ready to face. That number appears without urgency, without interruption, like a calm marker along the road. It carries the feeling of mature protection, of experience gathered over time, of lessons learned without having to pay again in pain. When this energy touches your life, you may not feel lucky in a flashy way, but you will notice fewer risks, fewer unnecessary mistakes, and most importantly, you begin to trust the clarity of your own judgment. There were decisions that once kept you awake, night after night. And later, when you looked back, you realized you had chosen well, even though you could not explain why at the time. There were doors that seemed completely closed, yet instead of forcing them open, you were guided toward another path, quieter, more fitting, and ultimately safer. This is guidance without spectacle, without pressure. It comes from an understanding that rises above the immediate fears of being human. Libra carries a deep desire for balance, yet is often pulled in opposite directions by choices that all appear reasonable. This protective layer does not take away your freedom. It simply helps you see more clearly what is truly worthy of your trust. It is like a warm yellow light in the rain at night. It does not illuminate the entire road, but it shows you the next few steps, just enough so you do not lose your footing. And in that gentle light, you learn to move forward not through haste, but through steadiness. There is an ancient wisdom whispering softly that not every opportunity needs to be taken. Not every invitation deserves belief, and not every wide road will lead you where you need to go. True wisdom lives in waiting for the right moment, in saying no when necessary, and in listening quietly when something inside you has not yet agreed. When you honor that rhythm, you make fewer mistakes, you pay fewer unnecessary costs, and you create more space to nurture what truly matters. This protective energy is not meant for you alone. As you walk more steadily, those around you benefit from that stability as well. You become a point of grounding, not because you are perfect, but because you know how to keep yourself from falling into chaos. You know when to step back. You know when to move forward. And that balance spreads naturally. A calmer family, a relationship with less harm, a community with one more person who thinks before acting. You may never see the shape of this protection clearly, but you will feel it through the growing sense of peace, through the realization that major choices in your life no longer feel as heavy as they once did. You will walk with a quiet confidence that even though much ahead remains unknown, you are not walking alone. A higher wisdom is walking with you, not doing the work for you, but lighting the way so you can move forward on your own feet. And in that light, very gently, very naturally, you begin to see that doors opening at the right time do not only lead you to safety, they lead you closer to the person you are becoming. Someone who knows how to balance heart and reason, dreams and reality, the desire to go far, and the wisdom not to lose the way. When that happens, you no longer need to search for signs, because the calm spreading within you has already become the clearest answer of all. And from that sense of calm, another feeling begins to rise, slowly, but undeniably real. It is the feeling of sufficiency taking shape, not in a loud or dramatic way, but like an underground stream, quietly flowing beneath the surface, patiently nourishing everything above it. You may not yet have a name for it, but you begin to notice that you are no longer being pulled by constant fear of tomorrow, no longer consumed by questions about where the money will go or whether the future will hold. Instead, a quiet trust settles in, a sense that things are being arranged according to a new order, stronger, more grounded. This flow does not come from temporary luck. It comes from a growing understanding that your value does not lie in trying to hold everything at once. It lies in your ability to build layer by layer, to create a steady rhythm for your life. There were times when you placed all your hope into a single direction, a single source. And when that source wavered, you wavered with it. That pattern no longer repeats itself in the same way. You begin to see life as an ecosystem where multiple streams can exist at once, supporting one another. And if one stream slows, the others continue to sustain the whole structure. In the months ahead, you may notice more invitations appearing, not loudly, not with pressure, just opportunities quietly knocking at the door. An idea you once set aside returns in a new form. A casual conversation opens an unexpected path. A skill you once underestimated is suddenly recognized for its true value. Each opportunity carries its own tone, but not all of them need to be kept. Your growth now is not measured by how often you say yes. It is measured by your ability to recognize what aligns with the long-term rhythm you are building. You find yourself weighing decisions more carefully, not out of fear, but out of self-respect. You begin to ask whether this choice will nourish you over time or simply drain you further, whether it adds stability to your life or only offers a brief surge of excitement. And when you choose this way, you are not losing opportunities. You are refining them, keeping only what has the potential to grow and multiply with time. The prosperity you are stepping into does not ask you to sacrifice the balance that defines Libra. Instead, it invites you to build a life where material and spiritual values do not compete, but support one another. As your financial flow gains structure, your mind grows lighter. As your plans become clearer, your emotions settle. And within that stability, you create space to slow down, to be more present with the people you love, to appreciate simple moments you once overlooked because worry filled your thoughts. What is most meaningful is that this rhythm is not only shaping your life. Your steadiness becomes an unseen anchor for those around you, a family that feels safer, a relationship with less tension, a community strengthened by one more person who builds lasting value instead of chasing short-lived waves. And in that quiet ripple outward, you begin to understand that true prosperity is not found in numbers alone. It lives in the feeling of sufficiency, in knowing you are moving in the right direction, with a foundation strong enough to keep you from being swept away, even as life continues to move and change. And as that sense of sufficiency settles in your heart, very naturally, an old memory begins to stir. Not a sad memory, not exactly a joyful one either, but a memory of where you began, of your first home, of simple meals shared at the table, of stories told again and again by the elders in your family, stories that once seemed ordinary, yet quietly shaped the way you learned to see life, to see money, to see the meaning of safety. There are things we carry not because we chose them, but because we were born into them. Beliefs passed down from one generation to the next, through the worries of our parents, through familiar phrases about hardship, about scarcity, about having to save every little thing just to survive. Those beliefs were not wrong. They were born in a different time, when life was more limited, when dreams had to be folded small in exchange for immediate security. But there comes a moment when those beliefs grow too tight for the person you are becoming. When this energy reaches you, you begin to see your family differently, no longer only as a place of complicated memories, but as a place holding countless unnamed resources. A skill once dismissed as insignificant, a habit of steady, honest work, a deep respect for keeping one's word, a refusal to give up, even in difficult circumstances. All of these are inheritance, not always handed down as money, but carrying a value far deeper than that. You may have felt that you were carrying the worries of previous generations, that you had to do better, go farther, fix what was left unfinished. And sometimes that pressure made you tired, made money feel both necessary and heavy at the same time. But when you allow yourself to look back with compassion, you begin to see something clearly. You are not here to repeat the old story. You are here to continue it differently, not by denying the past, not by blaming anyone, simply by choosing a wider path. Healing begins very quietly. Perhaps it is the first time you realize you no longer need to live in constant fear of scarcity. Perhaps it is the moment you understand that wanting a full and abundant life does not betray your family, but honors everything they endured so you could be here. When that belief shifts, the current inside you changes direction, from contraction to openness, from defense to receiving. And something remarkable happens. As you make peace with your family's financial story, the knots begin to loosen on their own. Choices that once carried anxiety start to feel lighter. Opportunities once rejected out of fear are now seen with clearer eyes. You no longer need to prove anything to the past, nor do you need to run from it. You stand as someone who knows where they came from, and therefore knows exactly where they want to go. In that reconciliation, you free not only yourself, but the generations that follow. An old cycle closes, not through force, but through understanding. And when that happens, the flow of prosperity you are building meets no more invisible resistance. It moves more smoothly, more deeply, carrying the feeling that you are not only building for the present, but laying the foundation for a future where sufficiency is no longer something you must trade for anxiety, but the natural result of a journey that has been healed from the roots up. And it is precisely when that foundation becomes steady that a very special moment begins to appear in your life. Not loud, not dramatic, yet clear enough for you to sense that something is shifting, like standing on a bridge and realizing the current below has changed direction, even though the surface of the water remains calm. You may not be able to name it right away, but deep inside, there is a very clear knowing that an old circle is slowly closing, not through loss, but through completion. There are numbers that appear at moments exactly like this, not to impress you, but to mark the moment, like a milestone along the road that only becomes visible after you have traveled far enough. When that number shows itself on an otherwise ordinary day, you may suddenly feel your heart grow quiet. Old questions lose their weight. Things that once made you hesitate are now seen through a different lens. No rush, no confusion, just a calm clarity. This is when you realize you are no longer being pulled by the momentum of the past. Old habits, repeated choices, endless loops that kept you standing still for years begin to lose their grip. Not because you fight them, but because you have outgrown them. When a person matures, some doors close on their own, without needing to be slammed shut. And when a door closes peacefully, a new space opens naturally, without force, without breaking anything apart. The new path does not appear as a complete map. It arrives step by step, through small signs, through subtle invitations. But this time, you do not step forward questioning your own worth. You carry with you everything you have lived through, lessons that have settled deep, healing that happened quietly. And because of that, decisions about money, about direction, about the future, no longer come from fear of not having enough. They come from a desire to build a life that reflects your true values. There is a very real sense that you are being supported, not to avoid challenges, but so that every challenge holds meaning. You no longer carry everything alone in silence. When you pause to consider an important step, there is an inner agreement that is difficult to explain, as if every piece is lining up, waiting to be placed exactly where it belongs. And when you move from that place, the world around you begins to respond more smoothly as well. Libra has always searched for balance. But now, that balance is no longer fragile. It is built on the understanding that every ending contains a beginning, and every beginning requires the courage to step through an old doorway. When you notice these signs, it is not to chase them, but to recognize that you are ready to release what no longer fits, ready to welcome a new direction with trust in yourself. And in that moment, very gently, you may find yourself smiling, not because everything is perfect, but because you know you are standing in the right place at the right time. One cycle has completed its work. A new path is opening, not loudly, not with grand promises, but wide enough for you to walk with steadiness, and bright enough for you to see yourself moving forward, no longer pulled back by what belongs to yesterday. And as you stand on that path, there is a moment of deep quiet that can only be felt, not fully explained. As if everything you have lived through, the signs, the pauses, the old cycles, and the silent healing along the way, suddenly arrange themselves into a clearer picture, no longer scattered, no longer in conflict. Things begin to fall into order, not a rigid order, but the living order of a life that has finally found its true rhythm. There were numbers that walked with you throughout that journey, not for you to memorize with logic, but to understand through experience. Each number carried a different reminder, yet placed side by side, they tell a single story of growth, of learning to listen instead of chasing, of building foundations instead of searching only for escape, of standing firmly in the material world without losing the sensitivity of the soul. When you look back now, you see that you are no longer the person of impulsive decisions or repeating worries. You have lived enough to understand that sufficiency does not come from doing everything at once, but from doing the right things at the right time. And within that understanding, you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone. You no longer rush to compare your path with someone else's. Your road has its own rhythm, and that rhythm is slowly becoming steady. A simple but powerful truth begins to come into focus. Every door has already been opened from the other side. The guidance has been there. The signs have been clear enough. But the first step, and every step after that, still requires you to place your own foot forward. No one can walk it for you. No one can live it for you. And no one can build that steadiness unless you allow yourself to begin. The next 3 months are not a grand promise. They are a very real window for action. Small actions taken with awareness, untangling what has been messy, learning what you once postponed, laying foundations for stability instead of chasing temporary safety, trusting your intuition while staying clear enough not to let old fears decide new choices. When you move this way, you are not only changing your own life, you are quietly breaking a cycle that has lasted too long, a cycle of inherited anxiety, a cycle of scarcity in thought, a cycle of trading peace just to survive. And when that cycle stops with you, something beautiful begins to form. Those who come after you will grow in a different space, lighter, wider, more trusting. Libra was born to bring balance, but the greatest balance is not found in pleasing everyone. It is found in living according to your deepest values. When you do that, prosperity is no longer something to chase. It becomes the natural result of a life that is organized, healed, and guided by awareness. And if there is one final thing to hold on to in this moment, it is this quiet but certain, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. Not too early, not too late. Right on time to begin a new journey, with steadier feet, a brighter heart, and a quiet faith that the light you carry today will not only guide your own path, but will be warm enough to reach other lives as well, in a way that feels natural and deeply human.